What is up, YouTube? So I'm coming at you guys today to do a story, do a little bit of an update, kind of where have I been, all that stuff. Because this is a couple of days late, but I wanted to take some time to make this video and talk about the recent surgery that I had for gynocamastia removal, and then tell you the whole story of what's been happening over the last 2 weeks as this has been going on and my experience with it and kind of like what led up to it and then the experience with the surgery and everything. So first, let's dive into it. Gynocamastia, what is it? It is the development of male breast tissue, basically. So if your hormones get out of balance, if you're using certain hormones, if you're doing some extracurricular activities, it can help stimulate, basically, the gland in the breast tissue. So both male and female still have this gland because as we start off life in our mother's womb, we all start off female, and then men start producing and getting exposed to testosterone, and that's what changes the physiological differences in the womb and turns a female, because we all start off female, into a male, and then the females don't get that testosterone jump and continue as females. So that's kind of where we diverge as far as we start off kind of the same. But on the men's side of things, you start developing the same. That's why men have breast gland tissues and why we have nipples as well, even though they don't do anything for us guys. So as you go through puberty, as your body gets exposed to hormones, if it gets exposed to too much, like progesterone, prolactin, or estrogen, it can start to get tender, it can start to develop. So I had a little bit of this when I was going through puberty. I remember that as I was going through puberty, kind of had some sensitivity like to the nipples. Had no idea what that meant. They just told us in like the maturation programs that our schools put on here in Utah that it was pretty normal and that it can happen to guys. But I didn't know that that was what was going on, is that it was actually, I'm just genetically susceptible to developing gynocamastia. So age further in life, I get into bodybuilding, and I start to notice that I'm having the same thing kind of come back. And then a couple of shows into my bodybuilding career, it starts to become apparent on stage that my nipples are kind of like puffy, and they stand out. And then just like year round, they're still kind of just puffy and kind of always there. With the body fluctuations of bulking, getting super fat, estrogen conversion gets higher, getting shredded down. Over time, they just grew until the point where they became pretty noticeable and stood out a lot. And I got some comments online. It didn't get too bad that it started to affect my bodybuilding career, but I won't lie and say that it wasn't something that was in the back of my mind and a little bit of an insecurity. Because honestly, this last prep that I went through that you can watch, kind of like the last little bit of it here on the YouTube channel, it was really messing with my mind. It was really messing with my head, and I was really going through the ringer on it, and just beating myself up mentally, feeling like it looked so horrible, it looked so bad. All anybody could see when they looked at me was that, and that it was going to cause me to lose a show, that I was going to suffer for 20 weeks through my relationship, put my fiance through everything that goes on in with me prepping, and that I was just then gonna fail. So it really robbed a lot of the joy of the process of bodybuilding for me specifically. So it was time. It was time to get it removed. I halfway through prep, I actually set up an appointment with Vincent Surgical Arts here in Utah. So I'm just going to say, if you're in northern Utah or surrounding area and you're able to, I would suggest going to Vincent, because Dr. Vincent is the freaking GOAT. They've taken care of me so much through this process and everything. But I want to get into the story of everything that happened because it was craziness. So I had the surgery done about 18 days ago, a little bit over 2 weeks on Monday. Went in for the surgery, everything was fine. They put me under, came back out, groggy, obviously chest is a little bit sore, but you're doped up on anesthesia and pain meds. Just continued the day as normal after I had the surgery done. I'll show you pictures also throughout this and kind of explain things as it goes on. But got surgery on that Monday, and just kind of went to normal. Got home, was just resting, focusing on healing. They had kind of like told me and briefed me like, yeah, you're gonna be like messed up, but you should be able to go back to work by like Wednesday or Thursday, to like start doing some maybe light cardio, get some movement in, start, training clients again. That was not what happened for me. So that Monday, by 11:30 p.m. at night, I was up from that morning, 18 pounds. My hands were swollen and I couldn't really close them. I felt bloated as bloated as bloated can be. I was breathing like a really, really overweight, obese guy. And I was super uncomfortable. I couldn't close my hands. I was just swollen. I had no idea what was going on. What it felt like was the post-show water rebound that I usually get. And I'm usually good with that. Just keep drinking water, you'll eventually start peeing out. But it made no sense because I hadn't dehydrated. I had still had 6 liters of water that day. I'd had 6 liters of water the day before. There was no dehydration process other than holding off on water until after the surgery. So we ended up going to the ER, to the emergency room, which it was just a trip in itself. We were there for 5 hours, so we were there till about 5 in the morning. They completely misunderstood what I was asking for and what was going on. They thought that, his bladder is full and he can't relax because apparently anesthesia can mess with smooth muscle contractions. So he can't relax, so we need to relieve the pressure in his bladder. When in reality it is, no, there's nothing in my bladder. I don't seem to be filtering water for some reason. Can we get me on a diuretic so I don't have a freaking heart attack or stroke? So this is the really messed up part. Because of that misunderstanding, they catheted me while I was conscious. And if you don't know what a catheter is, God bless you, because that is probably the most uncomfortable, painful experience I've had in my life. And I literally just had surgery that same morning. So they did that. I had it in for like 3 hours, lost maybe like 3/4 of a liter of water or fluid from my body, which is not going to equal out to anything close to 18 pounds. One of my friends, Sarah, who also does my body work, showed up, gave my fiance some like water, Gatorade, protein bar, came and sat with us. And when the doctor came in, basically between me and her, we bullied him into, this is the course of treatment that you need to do. Why haven't you stethoscope, this is the messed up part, guys. Why haven't you stethoscoped my heart or my lungs to see if you can hear fluid or hear anything off? Why haven't you done an EKG of my heart to see if my sinus rhythm is normal? Why haven't you x-rayed my lungs to make sure that there's no fluid in my lungs? Like basic stuff, guys. Why didn't you take my blood work to see if my kidneys were okay and functioning? Because this entire time I was sitting in the hospital, my blood pressure was bouncing between about 155 to a little bit over 160 over 80, which is like pretty bad blood pressure, guys. And I'm already on a blood pressure medication. And even with that, with just the amount of water that my body was holding on to and not filtering out and getting through, my blood pressure was through the roof. And that's why I was laying in bed for 5 hours. I can only imagine how bad it was while I was like in my house, walking around, walking up and down stairs, and all of that. Like it probably shot to over 200, which is really, really dangerous. Acutely like this, it's not going to be like too terrible, but you keep it there chronically, say maybe for 3 days, you could end up doing some irreversible kidney damage. So they took my blood work. I'll see if I can throw that up. I don't care if you guys see it or not. Basically, blood work came back somewhat normal. Things are off. Basically indicates that my body is stressed, which would make sense. I had surgery. I'm up 20 pounds and like almost weighing 290 pounds by that time. So got all that done. All that came back. We're good. Heart was good. Kidneys are good. no fluid in the lungs or anything like that, other than the fact that I can't seem to filter blood because apparently a bad reaction to the anesthesia. That was the only thing. So got to get the diuretic prescription for about like 3 or 4 days. Was able to get on that the next day, started peeing out normally. Now, here's the really crappy part. Because my blood pressure was so high, on the left side of my chest, on the left nipple, I started to bleed and got a hematoma and had a huge purple bruise that covered my chest. So the next morning we were changing the dressing and putting a new dressing on and reapplying some just basically cleaning the wound and doing some wound care. My left pec was twice the size of my right pec. So we ended up reaching out to the plastic surgeon and be like, hey, is this normal? So for me, I'm high on drugs and I'm a dude. So I'm just like, oh, it's fine. You know, they said the left side was a little bit bigger than the right side. So it's probably normal swelling and just normal that it'd be worse on the left side. My fiance is just like, yeah, let's take a picture and like send it over to the doc and just make sure. So within 5 minutes of her sending the picture over, they call her and they're just like, hey, are you able to come in today in like maybe an hour? And then they call right back after that. And they're like, actually, can you come right now so that the doctor can see him? So we go to the plastic surgeon's office, 10 minutes away maybe. They immediately take me back to the operating room, get me all cleaned up and ready. The doctor comes in, and so I'm high on pain meds right now, so I can't give consent. So he was supposed to come back, examine me, decide what we're gonna do, go and talk to my fiance, get consent, and then perform whatever operation. Comes in, examines me, and says, I don't have time to go and get consent. We've got to drain this and relieve this pressure now, or he's gonna lose his nipple. So I'm high on pain meds, and I think that this is the most hilarious joke. I'm just like, oh, this is freaking funny. That's hilarious. This guy's got jokes, you know, like, you're gonna lose a nipple. Ha 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 ha. Anyways, he goes to town. He drains about 100 cc's or 100 milliliters of blood, which is, I think I did the conversion. It's about 4.5 ounces of blood out of my left pec. Inserts a drain into the wound so that it can continue to drain if any other pressure forms. And then the surgical assistants, they are bandaging me up and everything. And I'm just like, hey, by the way, with the doctor, like, was that his sense of humor or was he being serious? Because I was starting to sober up and like the pain meds were starting to wear off a little bit. And they're just like, oh no, he was being serious. So I'm like, oh, okay. So at some point, my fiance is going to get some sort of plaque or trophy or something that's just like, you know, I owe you one left nipple. So anyways, guys, the next day we go back, they take out the drain, everything's normal. But unfortunately, they tell me like no, absolutely no working out until Monday when we can see you again. And then let's have you basically take the week off. So I was lucky enough that I had my assistant coach was able to cover training sessions and keep everybody like up to date. I was feeling good enough by like Friday that I jumped online, got some work done, did some updates and all that for clients. We went in on Monday, they cleared me, they said everything was good, you know, you just got to keep some compression and whatnot on it, because it gives you this basically like sports bra compression chest to just kind of like hold everything together so that the wounds heal and that the space that when they take the gland out and there's this little space there, that it seals up properly and that you don't just have this like pocket that then indents. Monday comes around, they clear me to start working out the next day. I train back, and then I train legs, and then Thursday I start to notice on the left side that when I like raise my hand up, there seems to be kind of looks like I have really bad gyno. There's a huge kind of like lump there, and I'm like feeling it, and it feels liquidy, almost like a waterbed sort of feeling. So we end up reaching out to them. They have me come back in on Friday, and then they drain another 50 milliliters. Or 50 cc's, which is about 2 ounces of blood out of my left side again. And then tell me no more working out until the following Monday. So then everything's smooth over the weekend. That was actually Valentine's weekend, so we were able to go and have a good Valentine's weekend, get away for a little bit. Come back in on Monday. Doctor is in. He's able to see me. He drains another like 25 cc's of blood again, and then given the all clear. So yeah, everything so far with like the gyno experience, like first of all, Dr. Vincent really took care of me, saw me as many times as I needed. Every time that we updated them or just sent them pictures of just like, hey, is this normal? They're able to respond back, be super responsive, really take care of us, and make sure that when I needed to come in for anything that they were taking care of me. So good news is I get to keep my left nipple, and I have beautiful nipples now. So, and that's what anybody wants, right? So for right now, I go back in 4 weeks for my 6-week follow-up. But everything's looking good. Like everything seems to be healing. I'm not noticing any more formation of like any blood pockets. And yeah, all that's left is that there's some scabbing on the scars. I'll take some pictures and toss them in through here. So you probably have already seen ones of like me in like the hospital, and whatnot, and how bad my chest was looking, that morning, after. But the good news is that I'm healing up. Like the bruise is almost entirely gone. I've been able to get 2 workouts in this week. Going to be hitting some arms and shoulders tomorrow, but this is my experience with gynecomastia. I'll be updating you guys also in the future once it's fully healed, show you what it looks like, and then do maybe like a before and after of just like, this is what it looked like before, this is what my nipples look like before, and this is what they look like now. So, you know, if you are into that, tune in and just like get some more information. And if you honestly are suffering from gynecomastia or you're worried about it, just set up a time with a doctor. I would recommend highly a plastic surgeon. If you're doing anything that affects like your physique or your skin or the way things look, you're in any kind of modeling industry, bodybuilding, anything like that, always get a plastic surgeon to do like skin operations or anything like that, or to close you up if you're getting like a deeper surgery or something, because the last thing you want is like this huge big scar. And plastic surgeons are amazing at closing incisions to make them almost unrecognizable, unseeable, just very, very neat and tidy. So yeah, but if you're in Utah or if you're in like a surrounding area, highly, highly, highly recommend Vincent Surgical Arts. Dr. Vincent is freaking hilarious, and he's a great guy, and he took really good care of me, and his entire team has been so helpful and so supportive through this whole process, and making sure that I'm taken care of, that I heal properly, and that everything looks good, because I'm a bodybuilder. I want to go pro, and like, you know, you don't want to get like all cut up and have people cut into your muscle and just mess you up, and then, you know, your chest looks like a mess. So anyways, guys, that's my experience with gynecomastia and the gynecomastia surgery. Obviously, I had a worse reaction than most people. He only knew one other person who had a similar thing where he had to come back in and get blood drained a couple of times. But he's known for doing the surgery on all the bodybuilders here in Utah, and nobody else has had like quite a bad experience. Usually they're the first case scenario where it's like 2 days later they're doing cardio again and pretty back to normal. But anyway, you know, I'm just a lucky duck and a special guy that I get the like worst reactions to anesthesia as far as like wound healing and everything, and just like water retention, high blood pressure, internal bleeding, hematoma formation, blah. So anyways, guys, that's my story with the gynecomastia. If you got any questions, post them below. I'm more than open to talking about things like this, because, you know, they need to be talked about. And, you know, if you're a guy who has gyno from puberty, gyno developed later in life, like, I know how bad it sucks, and it freaking is annoying when people just like are like, you have gyno, go get your gyno taken care of, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, yeah, guys, well, just know that it's like a $4,000 surgery. Not everybody just has $4,000 laying around, and it can take time to save up. And for a lot of people, it's just like, it doesn't really affect their life that much. So unless it's like really, really bad, it's not really worth it to spend that money to get it taken out. But for me as a bodybuilder, it was probably only going to get worse. So it made sense for me to actually pay for the surgery and get it taken care of, so that I can continue to do what I love with joy and without that just nagging in the back every time I look in the mirror or was posing or anything of just like, all they're gonna look at is like my puffy nipples. All they're gonna look at is like the lumps under my nipples, and I'm never gonna win, and oh my gosh, this is so horrible and terrible. So anyways, guys, thank you for tuning in. I've been talking for a long time now, so I'm gonna let you guys go, let you enjoy the rest of your day, but thank you for watching this YouTube video. If you've got questions, hit me up on them, and I'll be uploading once a week, just keeping you guys updated. And in about 6 weeks, I'll do a gynecomastia update and show you guys like final, like what it looks like now that it's healed versus where it was before I got the surgery. So yeah, anyways, have a great day, guys. Peace out, bye.